Hi everyone, my name is May. I'm an executive coach consultant specialising in organisational development. This is the third year that I've attended the PyCon Maintainers Summit, and I'm really pleased to be back. My previous presentations have been on topics of burnout and how to communicate effectively in an async environment. In today's talk, I'll be sharing some of the diversity, equity, and inclusion themes that emerged from conversations that I had in 2022 across 4 projects: SciPy, Matplotlib, Pandas, and NumPy. I'll also be providing an overview of the approach we'll be taking to strengthen diversity and inclusion across the community. And by the end of this talk, I hope that you'll have discovered some ideas that you can take back into your projects and implement. So, why should we care about diversity, equity, and inclusion? Open source software is code that is designed to be publicly accessible. Anyone can see, modify, and distribute the code as they see fit. Open source software is built on the principles of inclusivity and collaboration. However, in spite of this reputation, the reality can often be quite different. In 2020, 1,200 users from 75 countries completed NumPy's first community survey. In spite of this great turnout, only 18% said that they regularly contribute to projects. Now, whether this low engagement is due to unfriendly diversity and inclusion practices is yet to be truly tested. But from what we've observed, we can see that people from underrepresented backgrounds are still largely absent. What this translates to is a situation where our projects are potentially being supported and controlled by an increasingly homogeneous group of people. This is the reason why we've made addressing diversity and inclusion a priority. Unfortunately for us, there is actually a lack of meaningful data at scale when it comes to measuring diversity across the 4 projects. This makes it really difficult to understand how we can work to improve it. Ideally, more data is needed so that we can identify where we need to focus our efforts, as well as track the impact of any interventions. An obvious example of where we could integrate data collection is when new contributors come on board. Even starting with a simple question like, what city or country are you based? Or what is the main language you speak at home? Are things that could be really helpful. While not perfect, this would start to paint a picture of the demographic that is attracted to contributing to our projects. By nature, much of the communication in the community is written and happens asynchronously. There are some very real positives to this. For example, your participation is not bound by time zones or geography, which is more inclusive. People can work to their own schedules and contribute in their own time. You can also think things through more carefully before responding. However, there are also some very real negatives. Now, a mainly async environment risks leaving most interactions feeling a little transactional. This doesn't help with social cohesion, and these together can make it really hard to build trust, rapport, and a culture of belonging. These factors led to the introduction of contributor experience leads in 2021. They support the onboarding of new contributors by facilitating opportunities for more real-time conversations to take place. The feedback that they've been getting shows that they're having an amazingly positive impact on developing and maintaining relationships across the community. Resolving conflict. Now, this is an interesting one. It actually came up several times in the conversations that I had with people. Welcoming diversity is also about being accepting of differing viewpoints. Being able to do this enables everyone to feel seen and heard. It's a sign of a healthy community. But at times, differing viewpoints were perceived as personal challenges. Now, this makes it really difficult, because when we don't handle those personal challenges sensitively, differing viewpoints and the behavior that's often associated with it can become unhelpful to the wider community. We've seen instances where an inability to create a shared understanding prevents people from collaborating effectively, and in some cases can actually stop decisions from being made in a timely manner. So this actually leads us onto the topic of project governance. So what is the role of project governance? Governance is the rules or customs by which projects decide who gets to do what, how they're supposed to do it, and when. To be able to deliver on a project's vision, direction, and roadmap, project governance is key. It provides clarity. According to opensource.com, when defining governance for a project, we need to pay attention to the following things. Ways to contribute. So what roles can contributors play in the project? And what qualifications, duties, privileges, and authority are associated with each of these roles? How do even people get assigned or even removed from these roles? And can these roles change? When it comes to working together, what constitutes a serious breach when it comes to behaviour? And what are the consequences? And what about the project's collected policies and procedures? Each of these areas of governance contributes to a project's success. People join the community for a variety of reasons: to improve their technical knowledge, for the intellectual challenge, leadership development, or to mentor and be mentored. However, attracting contributors is one thing. Getting them to stay and contribute consistently over a longer period of time is quite another. To support retention, we think it's important for people to know how they can progress within the project. So, for example, how can you move from being a contributor to someone with commit rights? And then how do you become a maintainer or move into a governance role? And what if you're not a coder? What role is there for you here? As yet, how to make these transitions aren't clear. So, where are we at across the themes I've highlighted so far? In terms of progress to date, a collaboration is currently underway with CHAOS to identify metrics that can be tracked to monitor project health, and that includes diversity and inclusion. When it comes to community health, we, as I mentioned, have contributor experience leads running regular meetings to welcome newcomers. Under project governance, a new guide for maintainers is currently being pulled together. And when it comes to career opportunities, Pandas, for example, went from 0 to 3 full-time maintainers, and NumPy recently appointed a maintainer from India and its first developer in residence from Africa through its fellowship program. Now what? Well, for us, the focus is going to continue on the following priorities: communication, project governance and resolving conflict, and career paths for retention. And over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be forming some DEI working groups, and we'll be working through a framework to get an action plan in place. In terms of next steps, once the working groups have been formed, each working group is going to agree their scope, and that's looking at specific outcomes they want to achieve, the audience they want to target, the available resources, and the time frame for delivery. We're going to be brainstorming and bringing in external insight from other communities that may be facing similar challenges, like Wikipedia or GitHub, for example. We'll then be looking at communicating with the wider community to see what appetite there is for some of the interventions that are identified that we can potentially pilot. And through those pilots, we hope to experiment, measure, learn, and iterate so that we can improve and ensure we're really making a difference. While each group will confirm their own specific metrics to measure success, here are some examples worthwhile tracking. The number of non-technical contributors on each project. When it comes to attraction, looking at the diversity of new contributors. And same goes for retention and mobility. How many people are being appointed maintainers and what kind of backgrounds do they have? And then lastly, psychological safety. This is really important. I think it would be worthwhile surveying that because that is the foundation really of creating an inclusive environment. In the words of Melissa Mendoza at Quansite, it is hoped by focusing on diversity and inclusion that we develop a clearer picture of what works and what doesn't in our projects to engage and retain new contributors, especially from underrepresented groups. It takes a community to raise a community. We can't do this alone. So this is my ask. If you're interested in taking part in one of our DEI working groups, please scan the QR code and leave us your contact details. And if you'd like a copy of the DEI Insights report or you have any questions, please feel free to email me at may@virtualcoachworks.com. Thank you for listening.